we want to go ahead and bring in Representative Brenda Carter. She represents the 29th District, which of course covers our area here, Auburn Hills, Kegel Harbor, Orchard Lake, Pontiac, and Sylvan Lake. Thank you so much for being with us again on the Oakland County MegaCast.
Thank you again for having me.
You are always such a wealth of knowledge for our listeners as well as for our viewers. What is some of the latest news that you can share with us at this time?
Of course, everyone should be aware now that a return to learn package was passed yesterday in the House of Representatives. Actually, it was passed by the House. It went over the Senate for tweaking, and then it came back to the House yesterday. And there was bipartisan support as well as bipartisan dissent. These bills really as a pro for our teachers. It gives them a little extra funding to help them do their jobs, which is much appreciated. But it also did not have our stakeholders at the table. There were several amendments that was done to this package by the Education Committee chaired by Minority Leader Darren Camilleri. But these bills passed, like I said, it was not unanimous. And I'm sure there's going to be work to do with them to make sure that our superintendents, our ISD superintendents, as well as our local superintendents and our principals have the tools and the resources they need to start school safely. This is the one concern that we had on the Education Committee because there were little hitting things inside the package that really could be a hindrance to our administrators as they attempt to do their jobs. But as it stands right now, we do have a plan to roll forward to start school. I must say, with the Oakland County ISD, of the 28 school districts that were in Oakland ISD, 25 of them decided to open schools virtually. And that's largely because of the resurgence of the COVID virus. So I'm glad to know that under the leadership of Wanda Cook Robinson, that we are taking the safety of our children, not only our children, but their parents and their grandparents in account to what we do as we roll out a plan to open up our schools.
So as we get into the school year, I know that this bill gives them additional financial support. Is that going to be enough to get them through this pandemic, do you think, or are they going to need more going forward?
Well, I think, that we should keep a pulse on this simply because as we stand right now, from what I'm hearing from the superintendents, is that they do not have the budgetary needs that is needed to even open up the school district safely. So I would think that we would look at this, frequently to see whether or not we are supplying our school districts with what they need.
So you represent a district that is very diverse. How do you address concerns in one area that may be different to a different area?
Well, one of the things I took into account early is to get my superintendents together, the superintendent of West Bloomfield Schools, the superintendent of Avondale Schools, and the superintendent of Pontiac Schools to find out there is a lot of things they have in common. And I believe they're working collaboratively. This is the way it appears to be. Working with Oakland County, that they have regular superintendent meetings where they look across the board and see where the highs and the lows are and what they can do to support each other. So I'm feeling pretty confident that the superintendents in my district are talking to each other and working together to provide the resources that they need. I have to say once again, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to provide them what they need at the time that they need it, because we have unfortunately got to this point where we are making a plan available right before school starts. So we're once again, the education committee is keeping a pulse on this to see what our superintendents need, what our educators need, what our essential workers are. And I'd like to talk about them for a minute because they're not really noted in the equation of what I'm seeing. We have bus drivers, we have cafeteria workers, even though the children will be remote up until I think it's November. But we have cafeteria workers, sanitation workers, all of these workers that are important to the structure of our school districts, and they need to be taken into account as well. So, I'm hoping that this is an ongoing, open discussion in the legislature where we can critique these anomalies as they happen and provide our school systems with what they need.
Representative Carter, the upcoming elections and the onset of more absentee voting has been a recurring issue since the August primary, and it will continue to be as we approach November. You were at an event today in support of the post office. Can you talk a little bit about that event?
Yes, this is an event, and I'm here right now. Actually, our congressional leaders, Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, Congresswoman Haley Stevens, and Congressman Dan Kildee are here at the post office in support of postal workers. It's more than just the election at stake right here. For our seniors who need their medicines, their medications, this is a slowdown, potentially hazardous situation for them if they do not get insulin in time or the insulin is spoiled. For our constituents who get Social Security checks or any type of check that comes from through the mail, anything that comes through the mail, even just basic school supplies. So, and not to mention how this is, in my opinion, something that attacks a historic institution. I'm a former postal worker, so my heart's here. I introduced a piece of legislation yesterday to protect our postal workers, and so many of them that are just here and they're trying to do their jobs. And some of the political things that's going on right now is not only a hindrance to postal workers, but a hindrance to people, all people. So we need to protect this institution. And this is what I believe our congressional leaders are out here exposing to right now.
There have been issues with the Postal Service for several years now. There's been financial concerns. How do you propose to fix that? And secondly, how in the world did this become so political?
The first one first, they're looking, I know that our congressional leaders are going back to Washington to introduce some legislation and get the inspector general involved to look at this to see whether or not this is legal and come up with solutions, most importantly, to fix this. I'm not sure if we on the state level can do anything other than write a resolution, which I did yesterday in support of the postal system. But on the congressional level, I know that they're digging in deep. Senator Gary Peters is actually actually spearheading some of the things that they want to put in place. So I'm hoping to hear some good things from our congressional leaders. I was hoping to hear it out there, but this interview was much too important. And the second question was, tell me again.
How did the Postal Service become such a hot button political issue?
Okay, and this is just my assertion on this. The fact that this is a very, very important election. And right now, with COVID-19 attacking a lot of our constituents nationwide, it's become a hazard to go to be in public. We're told to wear masks. We're told to social distance. I know that a lot of people are very passionate on both sides of the aisle to vote and have their candidate get in, but by mitigating ways to get to the post office, ways to vote, because a lot of states are instituting mail-in voting, no excuse absentee voting. The bottom line of it is that I think in my opinion, it's a form of voter suppression, but it's going to have serious consequences because too many people have depended on the postal system so long. It's just another form of voter suppression.
We're speaking with Representative Brenda Carter on the Oakland County Megacast, sticking to the subject of the Postal Service and the elections right now. Going forward into November, I know one of the things that has come to light here in the state of Michigan was, should votes be counted if the ballots are received after that 8 p.m. deadline? A judge has ruled that in the state of Michigan, they have to be in the clerk's office by 8 p.m. Other states do allow them as long as they're postmarked by the close of election day. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I would like to see the period extended beyond the election day because of so many variables that's in place. That's going to make it difficult for our constituents to vote. However, I definitely are going to follow the law, and then if we know for sure that there's nothing we can do to change that, then we have to put systems in place to ensure those constituents who are not able to get to the voting booth, those who are not able to follow the mail in, that we do everything we can to help them. My personal thought is our constitutional right to vote. And if this is being hampered by any reason, at this time of COVID-19, the pandemic, we should put systems in place to ensure that every voter is counted. Every single voter is counted. Their voice is heard. So that's my take on that.
Representative Brenda Carter with us from Michigan's 29th District on the Oakland County Megacast. And Representative Carter, this week, last night, we heard from Governor Gretchen Whitmer at the Democratic National Convention. Tonight, we're going to hear from another one of our local representatives, one of your constituents, Mari Manoogian, will speak at 9 p.m. tonight. A lot of young, up-and-coming leadership on both sides of the aisle in the state of Michigan. Can you speak to the amount of development of our next line of leaders that we are developing here in the state of Michigan?
Yes, it's incredible. Mari Manoogian is an incredible young woman that gives us hope for the future as far as our Democratic Party. You know, she's not alone. There's Kyra Harris Bolden. There's Laura Pahutsky. There is Sarah Anthony is a superstar. And what I really like about what we're doing in the caucus is that we're taking the time to not only expose but develop these young people so they're ready, putting them right there in the front line, letting them, it's an incredible opportunity for Representative Manoogian to be able to speak at the Democratic Convention. So I love what we're doing as far as supporting our young people. I'd like to see us reach back into our communities and offer mentoring programs. I'm going to work with Senator Rosemary Bear. She has a program that she's reaching back and mentoring young people and getting them ready for that next step, involving them in the governmental process. And I believe that will take away some of that voter apathy from our 20 to 45 age group by involving them in the governmental process and putting them right there. So I think it's absolutely incredible.
So I know we're only one day into the national convention, but your thoughts on going virtual? How is it working? Is it reaching more people, less people? This is a crazy world right now.
Well, I tell you, I am a delegate, and it is there are Zoom meetings everywhere. I'm very proud and glad that I was selected as a delegate, and it's given me the opportunity to look at various different groups or stakeholder groups like our labor group, like our seniors group. Another one that I'm involved in is the poverty group, where I work on the poverty and homelessness caucus in the state of Michigan. So it gives me an opportunity to interface with different groups all over the state, find out what their best practices are. But I can tell you, honestly, it's quite overwhelming.
A lot to keep up with, I'm sure.
Oh my God.
So we're talking with Representative Brenda Carter from Michigan's 29th District. Just a few more minutes here with you on the Oakland County Megacast. Anything from your district that you want to mention or let people know about?
Well, I would say the 29th District is incredible. In the 18 months that I've been the representative, I've had an opportunity to go and be involved not only as a representative but as a colleague, as a what you call, just be a part of their world. Orchard Lake Village, Kego Harbor, and so many things they do, like the Sandbar, okay, Sylvan Lake and their Monarch Butterfly, the Auburn Hills, and the Night Theater is just a beautiful, because they're collaborating. I created a room where I put all 5 mayors. I have 5 mayors and 5 city councils where they can talk to each other. And then there's Pontiac. You cannot help but just be proud of what's happening in Pontiac, everything from the M1 concourse to Amazon. So all of these things are being shared back and forth between the 5 communities. And I hope to make us more cohesive before I leave office. Right now, I am extremely proud of District 29 and what we are doing and how they have invited me into their worlds and let me share a piece of what they're doing.
So, real quickly, I believe the last time we spoke with you, there was the effort with some concerts in the parks to try to get the census out there. This has been a hard year to get census returned because with the COVID-19 going door to door, or just so many outdoor events have been canceled where normally you would be able to get out and encourage people to fill out the census forms. What's the latest on that effort? Is there a good return? And that's important money.
Well, right now, I believe Pontiac is about 60%, and then Sylvan Lake, to go to the other end, I think there's somewhere over 85% return right now. But the concerts are very, very important because a lot of people are feeling really shut in right now. And I know, give a shout out to Mayor Deirdre Waterman. She has repetitively had concerts, virtual concerts, outside of City Hall concerts. She's doing everything she can to make sure that the message get out about the census. There's another group in Pontiac, to bring those numbers up. Give it to Raheem Harris and his effort to get the census out. Deona Patterson. We are working. We're going door to door. We're doing everything we can to get that number up. And I'd like to mention to everybody out there, the deadline for completing the census was October 31st. That has been moved up to September 30th. So we have just a little over a month to get those numbers up and reach our people, but we're doing everything we can. Yes, you're talking about $1,800 a person, which comes out to $18,000 in 10 years. That's a lot of money. And all my districts, please, if you're not at 100%, go for it.
Representative Brenda Carter with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. The census, it really does take 2 minutes to fill out online. They've made it so easy. Take the time to do it. Help your local community. One last topic I want to touch on before we let you leave. I know you're very passionate about the homeless population. At the beginning of COVID-19, we heard a lot about homelessness and this pandemic. There seemed to be an outpouring of support, but lately, not a lot of talk going on about the homeless during the pandemic. Anything you want to speak to on that issue?
Yes, thank you for asking that question because I'm extremely passionate about our homeless community, especially with the eviction moratorium expiring. We hope that we do not see an explosion of homeless cases, but we do have systems in place in District 29, working with the Hope Warman Center, working with the Lighthouse, and my own personal issue every week where we put together meals and supplies for our homeless community to take care of them. On the state level, the COVID-19 obviously has hampered a lot of the things that Senator Bear and I were going to do as a caucus, but the governor's poverty caucus is covering a lot of these events with our homeless, as well as County Executive Dave Coulter. He's got a pulse on our homeless environment as well. So I'm feeling pretty confident at this time that our homeless, as it stands right now, we are able to meet their needs. We have a lot of support from the Pontiac Democratic Club, the Oakland County Democratic Black Caucus, as far as taking care of our homeless. But I'm cautious about where we're standing with the eviction moratorium expiring and the unemployment expiring. Will that cause a tsunami of homelessness in District 29 where we really could use more resources?
Something for us to continue to watch. Representative Brenda Carter from Michigan's 29th District. We appreciate you taking time away from your event to be with us here on the Oakland County MegaCast. We wish you the best this afternoon. Have a good day, and thank you for all the hard work that you've been doing.
Thank you once again so much for having me anytime.